Hello and welcome to the George Markowski Show. I'm here with Nadine. Hello, Nadine.
Hello. Hello. How are you tonight, George?
Very good. I'm here with one of my favourite guests with Nadine from Golden Key. And what are we talking about tonight, Nadine?
We're talking about how to get 100 to 200K fast, which is, I think, unheard of in today's day and age almost. So, really excited to get stuck into this one tonight.
Yeah, well, you could do it fast by robbing a bank, but not what we want to do.
No, not at all.
Actually, banks don't have that much cash anyway. It's really a fallacy. How many bank robbers go and rob a bank and they end up with like $3,000? Like, it's ridiculous. You know?
Yeah.
So
And
you're better off, instead of robbing a bank, you're better off doing what we do. But you know what? I'm the Robin Hood of the banks. I don't rob the banks, but what I do is I teach people how to reduce their mortgage so we can reduce the amount we give banks. So I take from the rich banks and give to the smart investors, not the poor, because the poor don't know what to do with it. I'm going to give it to the middle class because they're really good at this sort of stuff. I'm going to get cancelled for this, but it doesn't matter.
as long as you don't take me down with you, George, that's okay. One of
Yeah.
us has to stay here to steer the ship.
Look, at the end of the day, you know, at the end of the day, I think that there's nothing wrong with being authentic and saying it the way it is. I'm not going to mince my words. I'm going to just say it the way it is. And if people get offended, they should probably go to another channel. You know, what they should do is go to what's it called? The Snowflake channel, the Snowflake show. They go on there and they can watch their show and watch little snowflakes go down. It'd be wonderful.
Beautiful. Excellent. Yes. Well, between the two of us, we're certainly, very clear cut in what we say, our advice. And yeah, no snowflakes here. We don't have time for that, George. We're too busy buying properties and investing and creating wealth. No time for
Exactly.
snowflakes.
Exactly. And this year, I'm actually doing a project at the moment that I'm finalizing at the moment. It's going to finalize next few weeks. I'm actually buying a parcel of land. I'm going to do 92 properties on.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
this is my biggest project, which is great because each year I do a bigger project. So 92, not too bad, not too shabby.
Not too bad.
So yeah, so we're in the final stage of negotiations. Got to do a final few bits and pieces, a bit more due diligence, but then I'm going to press the button and do 92. And the reason I'm doing that many is because the market is going to go up significantly, and I know
Yeah.
that. So we need, people should follow my footsteps because I'm not one of those people. I'm not going to be an armchair investor and sit down and go, yeah, you should do this and you should do that, and then I'm not do it myself.
Of
I'm
course.
actually one of those people where I actually do what I say I do. I walk my walk, talk my walk my talk.
Beautiful.
That's what I do. And I think it's important if you're going to follow a guru, and I don't consider myself a guru, but if you're going to follow someone that's at top of their game, you need to follow someone that actually not just talks about stuff, but actually action. They do things. You know,
Yeah.
because
Absolutely.
because I think that's the way you learn. Uh,
Yeah.
Carpenter said, "Where I'm actually going to be doing this in Brisbane."
Cool.
And
And
look,
George, can you
go,
give some insights to those watching? Are you concerned or worried? There was talk about inflation increasing just the other day. Are you worried about interest rates? Anything you
okay,
can share from that side of things?
yes. There's talk about inflation increasing. That inflation as an investor is your best friend. That's what people don't realize. So, the media's out there talking about inflation as if it's bad. And I'll tell you who it's bad for. Inflation is bad for people that don't earn a lot of income.
Hmm.
Inflation is bad for people that have got cash in the bank. Inflation is bad for people that don't have cash in the bank, even worse.
Yeah.
And it's bad for people that don't have hard assets. So,
Hmm.
people with hard assets, inflation's our best friend, which is awesome. And that's the key.
That's what
And
we're here to talk
what's
about
a hard
tonight, isn't
asset? Yeah, what's a hard asset? Well, a hard asset, I'll tell you a clue, bricks and mortar. What you
it?
can do is you go to that asset and you can touch it and you hit it. And you can't punch bricks and mortar because you're going to hurt your hand. See, crypto, stocks and bonds, they're not hard, they're soft.
Correct.
You can't actually hold them.
Mm. Cool. All
Yeah.
right.
Okay,
So,
how are we going to access $100,000, $200,000 fast?
Yeah, good
I've
question.
Yep, I've got a
Well,
few ideas, but I'll let
yeah,
you think.
yeah, well, it's really all about leveraging those hard assets. And when we're talking about that, it's talking about leveraging property and accessing your equity. So to access equity, we need to look at the bank valuation and start a refinance process to unlock that equity, because otherwise your equity sits dormant or it sits sleepy. I think George used the term lazy equity. It just sits there, and we could be utilizing that to get 100, 200 grand cash quickly, which we could utilize for deposits on another investment property purchase. So
Yeah, and I'll make a prediction for the people watching. If anyone's got a mortgage, type in the chat, type in M for mortgage, because we're talking to you specifically. If you've got a mortgage, I'm talking to you directly. So listen in and listen carefully. The fact of it is, anyone's got a mortgage, and if you've had your house for over a year, you've probably got equity. Now, I don't know
yeah,
how much equity, but you've probably got an ear. Probably got a you've probably got equity. And the thing is, most people are scared of using the equity, right? And that's because they don't know what they're doing, right? So basically, what needs to happen is if you've got the right structure and the right plan, you can actually use your equity and use that to make money. Where a lot of people go, oh, I don't want to risk my house. I don't want to use my equity. What do? They go working 40 hours a week, working their ass off, and the equity sits at home. Now, you got to flip the switch, right? And what you need to do is you need to get the equity working in order for you not to have to work long term. So,
absolutely.
so would you rather risk you and your physical, mental health for the rest of your life, or should you get your equity working for you? Come on.
No, absolutely. You're silly if you don't use it. Otherwise, as you say, it's just sitting there doing nothing. And it actually reduces your risk if you're expanding your property portfolio, because the alternative to using equity is cross-collateralisation. And that's a big no-no in my world, a big no-no in your world, I know, George,
Exactly.
because that's huge risk factors and long-term implications as well, and restricts you leveraging those assets even further. So
Yes,
equity
and
is key.
let me jump in. Not only that, but see, if you go to a bank or most mortgage brokers, they don't understand how to structure loans to keep you safe. And what they're doing is actually putting you at a massive risk. So
That's
the average loan, actually, I looked at the statistics. Apparently, 82% of loans are high risk loans because the mortgage brokers don't know how to put them together. Now, that's what I love about you, Nadine. You know how to structure it. And you know what I call this? I call this a passive asset protection program, because what you're doing is you're protecting the investor from the banks and from getting sued, because what we're doing is splitting things up and
yeah,
siloing them. So therefore, one thing can't affect another. And when you do it that way, actually using equity is keeps you safer, because then you buy an investment property and then you've got two properties instead of one feeding it.
correct.
And the thing is, though, you have to have the right structure and you have to get the right property.
Absolutely. And if you don't utilize your equity, as you mentioned, George, a lot of brokers or banks will cross collateralize properties or not set them up correctly with the right structure. And it really does somewhat kneecap you from being able to secure second, third, fourth, and fifth investment property down the line. So, plenty of clients come across my file and my desk, and their properties are cross securitized, and we can't unlock any equity from either property because of that cross collateralization. We need to do some extra steps in the background, so it's a lot longer of a process as well.
Yeah, Louis just wrote in Nadine equals legend. Well,
Uh,
that's pretty awesome, isn't it?
Thanks, Louis. Louis, Louis's got the idea of equity. I've teaching him my tricks of the trade. So, yeah, good one,
Fantastic.
Louis. Thank you.
Fantastic. Now, the thing is, when you get a bank valuation, do we just go and get the first bank valuation and go, great? Or what do we do?
No, absolutely not. Typically, I run 3 to 4 valuations per property across 3 or 4 different banks, because the banks, would you believe, actually value the property quite differently from one bank to another. So the valuations could vary, sometimes 50 to 100 to sometimes $200,000 in difference, which is then a difference in your equity position and therefore usable equity. So always like to get multiple valuations. And the other thing about equity is that sometimes getting the best valuation with the best bank might not necessarily equal the best interest rate either. So if you want best interest rate, you might have to give up some of your equity and therefore hinder yourself securing that next investment property as well.
That's right. The devil's in the detail. But what needs to happen is, and this is the one thing a lot of people don't do, you work out what your goals are. And then from the goals, you work out, is interest rate more important or is equity more important, because different things matter. But not only that, there's actually a lot of tricks that you can do to actually get more equity. So I'll tell you what I've done in the past. I actually got a real estate agent to come to my house and give me comparative market valuations, right? And a printed report. And then what I did is I got one of those catchers with the high pressure hose and went around my house and cleaned it up, and the footpath and everything else like that. And I did a little bit of painting and tidying up and decluttering. I spent around 20 grand, right? However, I got a valuation before I did this. And then when the valuer came, I gave them a report. And if you give them a report in writing, they have to consider that report. They can't just dismiss it. But if you tell them, hey, I think my property is worth this much, they don't care.
Yeah.
I got my valuation up around about $500,000.
Wow. That's huge.
Yep.
It's huge.
Yeah, I know. Look, obviously my house is worth a lot of money, so that's also easier to do. But still,
Relative.
I think I did well, and that's street appeal so important. You declutter, get the street appeal, give space to your house, make sure it's not messy, put some cookies in the oven. You can do all these little tricks to make it feel worth more money.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And sometimes too, a lot of the time, the valuations we do, especially when we're doing refinances, is not necessarily a full valuation. So where someone walks through the house, but sometimes they'll do curbside. So exactly what you mentioned, George, making sure the street appeal looks good, because someone could literally drive past, take a photo of your house, and that will be the bank valuer doing his job. So, that also is important as well.
Yeah, well, many years ago in the past life, I used to be a real estate agent. And what we did is with houses, I'd get my clients to fix the street appeal, and the street appeal improved the sale value by heaps, because
Oh,
a lot of people drive past, they look at the house and not bother going in, right? And stuff like that. So street appeal is very important, definitely.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Cool.
Yeah. So look, how to access 100, 200,000 fast is you get yourself a mortgage broker that, like Nadine, that knows what they're doing. And then what you do is get Nadine to get you a few valuations and help you unlock the equity. And then you come to me, come to Positive Property. We help you find the property, and you get yourself a property that's going to go up in value.
Yeah.
And that's the way to do it.
Yeah. And that's a simple rinse and repeat scenario. Leverage that next property with the equity from that one and go forward for the third property, rinse and repeat, go for the fourth. So
Exactly. And look, we have clients doing this every day of the week. And here at Positive Property, we've helped over 3,500 plus members invest in property. And if you look behind me on my wall, there's a series of belts. And on the bottom, that's a white belt, and then there's a yellow belt. And it goes all the way to the top. There's 10 belts there. The top belt is a black belt. And that's what people are doing in our membership is they start the white belt, and then they get some equity out. They go to Nadine, get some equity. Then they get the yellow belt, get a bit more equity, and they get their next property. And some clients are getting up to 3 or 4 properties in their first year. And then they get 1 or 2 each year after that until they get what they need. Some people want to get 5 properties. Some people want to get 10, depending on what they want.
yeah.
And this is what we do day in, day out.
Yeah. And it all comes back to that structure, making sure you've got the right structure in place so you can secure a property 2, 3, 4 and beyond. So very, very exciting stuff.
So this is what I was going to do, Nadine. I want to do a bit of a thing today, a bit of a special. So if anyone's watching and you want to find out if you can use the equity, I want to open up a few appointments, just a handful. Is that okay? Have you got time to a handful?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to open up 4 spots.
Perfect.
So what I want to do is type in hashtag equity. And if you do, our team will reach out and I'll open up Nadine's calendar, only the first 4 people, if you want to check out and see if Nadine can help you get some equity, right? I'm feeling very generous tonight because Nadine's very busy dealing with our clients. Very, very busy. But I'm going to open it up. And we're having a meeting Monday anyway to help you get less busy, because we can help you. Right. Okay. So, look, thank you so much for joining us. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to actually go to our private group, which is our weekly show. And we're going to dive in and get into the nitty gritty. And just want to say to everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful night. We're going to be here every Thursday night. To come rain, hail, or shine, every Thursday is going to be me or my team here live talking property and helping you invest in property to help you become financially free. Okay. Thank you so much. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks, George.